here, or just anything in general about living here in St. Augustine and St. Johns County, make sure you throw them in the comments below. Whether you're watching it live or the replay, I try to answer all the questions live, and if I need to come back and answer some questions in the comments, I will do the best that I can on that. So, we'll go ahead and get started, and I want to talk about seasonality. And just yesterday, I was out with a buyer who I've been in contact with for over a year now. They were actually looking at buying in Nocatee, buying a townhome in Woodland Park at this time, essentially this time last year. They called me around this time and I said, hey, you know what? Like if you're in a lease right now, you're not planning to move, for a couple months because you're still stuck in that lease contract. I'd wait until like September, October, because really when our market starts to slow down is in the fall, right? It picks up a little bit at the end in November, December. We have a lot of snowbirds that come down and buy. But really our market slows down pretty good right when school starts. So my advice to many people, and especially if you're watching this and you're considering buying a new construction home in the area, would be to wait a little bit, right? And now, I'm crazy. I'm a realtor. I probably just shot myself in the foot. The guy should buy a home today and tomorrow and the next day, right? In some scenarios, it makes a lot of sense. Like if you're pressed to get your kids in before school starts, 100% makes sense to buy a house right now. But he's in a lease until February of next year. He'd have to break his lease, and they just did a price reduction on beautiful townhomes in Woodland Park by Providence Homes. Did a major price reduction on a lot of the homes of $25,000. Now, if you know anything about seasonality, typically the summer is the hottest part of our market, right? So that's when we see our highest prices, is when we see the most transactions. That's when a lot of activity is happening because our market is geared by the school year. For the most part. Now, obviously people buy outside of that and sell outside of that, but for the most part, that's a big driver of a lot of our activity. So I told him, I said, hey, like you're in at least till February. Like, so he didn't buy last year, which is a good thing. He's waiting till now, and we just had a $25,000 price reduction. And it's like, hey, you know what? You got a couple options here. You can pick whichever floor plan you like. He's fine with like 2 or 3 of the floor plans that they have there. He could literally be happy living in any of them. But now he can afford the one that he wanted the most. He was just like, I was out of my price range before. So really, he could buy today, get great incentives. I think they were talking about paying off the bond portion of the CDD, buying his interest rate down, and still giving him closing costs altogether. A good bit of money that he could be saving. Sorry, let me go live on Instagram. Forgot about that. But I said, hey, you know what? With how our market works, we're in the peak of the market right now, and they just dropped 25 grand. They're building a couple more of these. It might be worth it for you, especially because you're going to have to break a lease. You're in a lease contract till February. To just wait it out, because maybe there's another price reduction, and if there's not a price reduction by September, October, like okay, then pull the trigger, right? You're going to get probably the better incentive, and that's the one thing too, is like maybe they're not messing with price, but they buy down the interest rate even further. My point is with all of this is knowing the market and the seasonality and the ebbs and flows of our market will help you make a better and informed decision, right? And I don't think it's a bad idea to wait till September, October, especially in today's world. So switch over to the chart here. Let's take a look at it. Any questions about it, let me know. That's not the chart, that's Instagram. Whoops. Here we go. So talk about seasonality a lot, and this is based on historical averages for as long as the data as we can get it of how our market typically goes. It's this blue line here. So that's, sorry, I'm trying to move, you guys probably can't see it, but I'm trying to move this box. That's the seasonal pattern that we typically follow. So, it goes up really around March, the market starts to take off, and then summer, June, July, and August are really, May through August are going to be our peak of the year. And then it starts to go down September, October, November, picks up a little bit at the end of the year. You can see that price growth is already kind of slowed down compared to normal years. Is it still going up? Just not exactly as much as we want it to, right? In general, this is big, we're taking big swings here, right, guys? This is across the entire market. Are there some areas that are doing worse? Yes. Are there some areas that are doing great? 100%. This is in general. So if it's not hitting the same peak, I would expect it to hit a lower low, right? And if not, then it flattens out. Okay, so either way, like, all right, so maybe it doesn't go up any further, but based on historical averages, you could expect that it'll go down, right? So if it's hovering around 104, 103, I'm not sure. The new training's out tomorrow. I'll get on that and see what the updated numbers are for June. Then we should see more price reductions or maybe more incentives towards this end of the year. then I think that's something that you should put into consideration, right? If we have the ebbs and flows in the market, that's probably one of the best times to buy, especially when we're talking about new construction. Sellers that, like if I were trying to sell my house, there's only so much wiggle room in my equity that I have. The builders are buying huge swaths of land, they're chopping them up into smaller little parcels, and then they're selling to you for premium dollar. They're also a lot of times have a tie-in agreement with the loan officer so that they can give you a better deal on the rate. So it might behoove many people to just wait. And I don't think that's a bad thing to do. So if you are looking to buy a home, it's all situational. Any questions about your personal situation, I have a Calendly link. Typically, it won't be on this one, but on any other video, it's in the description below. It won't be on this one until tomorrow. My VA will update it. But I think that's a strategy worth taking into consideration, right? And aside from that, the prices that you're going to get, but the incentive, right? The incentive is the biggest thing. Right now, I think they're offering 5.99% interest rate, which in reality, compared to what the market rate is, it's still a great rate, right? But if you can buy that down to maybe they go to 5.5 or 4.99, right? That's way better. So for some people, it makes sense. For some people, it doesn't. Every situation is a little bit different. Any questions about that, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go ahead and check out the news stories we got here. I got like 5 or so. Let me see here. And we're going to go, as we always do, we try to go from a national news story to a state to a local news story. So I thought this one was pretty interesting. I'm going to share my screen. Foreign investors bought $56 billion worth of U.S. homes. These are all the top destinations for foreign buyers in the United States. And surprisingly, I didn't think Florida would be number one. I thought California would definitely be 1 or 2. I thought New York would be 1 or 2. So the fact that Florida is number 1 was really surprising to me. And the one thing I didn't realize, and this is after years of declines, international home transactions have risen year over year from 54,000 to 78,000. Still a huge drop from 2017 when foreigners bought 284,000 homes. So a lot of the people think, because of our political climate, that foreign investors are not interested in buying in the United States, considering the political climate that we have here. No, it's no secret that it's a little heated here in the United States, right? But for many people outside of this country, real estate in this country is a safe bet. And the reason they say that Florida is an even safer bet is because versus many other states, maybe take a look at California, our property rights and the taxable value of those properties is still very, very strong when you're looking at an international landscape. So that was really interesting to me, and I also bet because of Florida's economy, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but Florida's economy just got rated the number 1 economy in the United States for the past 3 years in a row. So, and that's probably due to a lot of the relocation from the pandemic, so maybe that'll start to taper off and we'll drop to 10 in the next couple of years. I don't know, right? I try to do the best of the information I'm given. I'm not a PhD economist or anything here, but I guess I'm a napkin economist is probably the best way to put it. But that's still something that is attractive to not only international buyers but local buyers, right? It's like, can I get a job to afford a house in this area? An international buyer is probably just moving money here to park money, right, and hopefully get appreciation to keep it safe. But the dollar started to go down in value, so they probably took advantage of that as well in the market that we have here. So really interesting. I mean, obviously still has a long way to go till we're at the 2017 numbers of 284,000 home sales just from international buyers. But going from $54,000 to $78,000 is a good percentage increase year over year. So we'll take it. I think that's a really interesting news story. Any questions about that, guys, or any thoughts on it? Of like why? I mean, I imagine California, just because it has, maybe it's not more it's probably more diverse than Florida, I would say. And same with New York, right? Probably more of a diverse population that lives there. But New York didn't even crack, it's top 5. It's number 4. Texas was number 3, right? So that was really interesting to me as well. I just imagine like a Chinese buyer, which is, I think they mentioned it's 15% of the people buying in here. Let's see. I think they have it here. They have a chart of who's actually buying. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm switching it up. I thought they did. I thought I read somewhere that it was a certain percentage. Either way, that was the largest percentage that I found on here that is buying in this country. So, very interesting. Love to know what you guys think about it. Let's go on to the next news story, okay? Any questions? Let me know in the comments below. Bop, 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 bop. Oh my gosh, man. So frustrating. I got a 3% mortgage rate when rates were 6%. Assumable mortgages. So I would show you this, but this ad blocker for Business Insider, unbelievable. I want to cancel it right now. But it's so frustrating because you read it earlier and then you pull it up. But either way, assumable mortgages, right? This is something that's very interesting in today's market. And in reality, it's not been a position that many real estate agents have had to work with because the difference of mortgage rate has not been so drastic to the market, to market rate, to where it's like there's so many people who have a 2-3% mortgage rate, 4% mortgage rate that could potentially have another buyer assume that mortgage rate. Now, this is where it gets confusing, right? So let's say that they have they bought the home years ago and they refinanced. They have a 2% mortgage rate on $250,000 of that home. So the market value of that home, let's say, is $500,000, right? So there's another $250,000 that you have to figure out how to pay. So you either bring that cash, $250,000, and then you assume the loan at $250,000, or you qualify for 2 loans, right? And that's 2 sets of closing costs, 2 loans. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky. And then also the loan has to be assumable. Many loans are not assumable. In this article, they talk about an FHA loan, and from my understanding, most FHA loans are not assumable. Typically, VA loans are assumable, which is a good thing, especially for our veterans. In today's market, especially because they move around all the time, they'll buy a place and have to move the next year when they get orders. So if they got a 2%, 3% interest rate, they can at least leverage that in some of these negotiations and get a higher price than what maybe the same exact home with a 6%, 6.5% mortgage could get. Because at the end of the day, it's going to cost them a lot less at a 2-3% mortgage than it would at a 6%, and most VAs doing 100% financing. So the equity isn't going to be too much different. So really, a lot of people could probably, if you 100% finance a home at $500,000, you lived in it for 2 years, more than likely it's only maybe a couple $1,000s away. So you've paid $2,000 of that $498 principal. The rest has gone to interest. Most people can make up that gap, right? So that's where it's really advantageous, is mostly for the veterans, which is a good thing. But another thing to consider if you are looking to buy in this market and trying to figure out a way like, okay, how can I make this work? I can get this $250,000 loan for 3%, but then I have to qualify for this other $250,000 at 7%. At the end of the day, it's way better than qualifying for a $500,000 loan at 7%. Either way, thought that was a pretty interesting article, and it is, I think, brings a little bit of value to my people out here. So any questions about it, let me know. We're going to go on to the next news story. So this is an interesting one, and I'm just going to breeze through. But these are the best places for first-time home buyers, according to a new WalletHub study. So, where is it? This is not the article I was pulled up earlier. Here we go. Let's go to this real quick. They had a list. Okay, so these are the best places for first-time home buyers. Palm Bay, Boise, Idaho, Tampa, Surprise, Arizona, Huntsville, Alabama, Gilbert, Arizona, Cape Coral, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Lakeland, Florida, Sunrise, Florida. So just within the top 10, you have 5 places in Florida. I'm surprised Jacksonville isn't on this, honestly. Jacksonville, I feel like, is a fantastic place for a first-time home buyer, considering the economy here and everything that's changing and the prices of homes. So I'm really surprised Jacksonville isn't on this. But I guess Orlando kind of makes a lot of sense with that because of their economy as well. Many people in the state of Florida are moving to Orlando just because it's popping off right now. Orlando and Tampa is about to form together into one big city. It's kind of crazy. So, first-time home buyers, this is where you want to look. These places here. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I love Pittsburgh. It's a beautiful little town. Love how the city's set up. Besides those hills, I don't know how my sister lived out in Pittsburgh for years, and she went to the University of Pittsburgh, and she lived in a street where like literally the hill was like this to park your car. Insane. But yeah, that's my point with all that is like, hey, 5 places that are within the state of Florida that's saying, hey, this is the best place for first-time home buyers. And I bet if you're considering Orlando or Tampa, if you took a look at Jacksonville, it might even be more advantageous for you. So check it out. All right, we're going to go on to the next news story here, and this is something that, hopefully this isn't like January of 2020 where we're hearing about COVID and we're really not worried about it, and then March comes around and everything's shut down. Flesh-eating bacteria death reported in St. Augustine. What to know? As of July 11th, 2 cases of the bacteria have been reported in northeast Florida. So 11 people in Florida have contracted Vibrio vulnificus, the so-called flesh-eating bacteria, and 4 of them have died from it in 2025. So 2 cases have been reported in northeast Florida, including one that led to a death of a person in St. Johns County. The other fatalities in Florida have occurred in Bay, Broward, and Hillsborough counties. Out of a record 82 cases and 19 deaths, most of them were after October, when large areas of the state were flooded by back-to-back hurricanes Helene and Milton. It requires a brackish salt water to spread, and it normally gets in like a wound or a cut. So something in the water here in Florida. You got to watch out. So make sure if you're getting in any brackish water, you don't have any cuts or anything that you can get this flesh-eating bacteria in there. Apparently, there is a pretty good survival rate from what this is saying, but that's pretty scary. Like, makes you afraid to go in any water, period. I remember it's kind of similar like I'm assuming you're all my age. When I was a kid here in Florida, the West Nile virus, right? I don't know if any of you remember that, but the West Nile virus was something that was carried by mosquitoes, and it shook me as a child and many other kids here in Florida, to where it's like you were afraid to go outside for it was probably like a week, but that week was intense fear of like, oh man, watch out for these mosquitoes. So it kind of became like and now it's probably kind of a joke, because more than likely if a kid gets bit by West Nile, they're probably going to be fine. I don't know. I'm not the CDC, guys. Don't listen to me. But either way, any comments on that? Any questions? Let me know. We got 3 more news stories, and one really interesting one regarding Palm Coast and some of the most expensive residences that I think we're going to see here in northeastern Florida for the foreseeable future. But we'll check it out. We're going to go to the next news story here. Let me pull up here. So this is actually happening in my neighborhood. Like I talk about all the time in West Augustine, guys, this neighborhood, they are putting some money behind it. They're making some changes. It's all pointing towards the positive, in my opinion. They had a meeting today. They want to do some renovations, and they've already just built this really great park here, Collier, Blocker, and Puryear Park, right at the corner of the extension for Kings Road and in Holmes. So there was a meeting today. We'll see what happens. It was at the Solomon Calhoun Center, but they're going to talk about adding plans for new courts for tennis, pickleball, and basketball with lighting, potentially a football field, a community center, restrooms, and more. So they already just added this. They also added the house that Martin Luther King grew up in. They're really taking care of this park now, which is really cool to see. So I'd be excited to see some more additions to this park. And we're already, we were just talking about Solomon Calhoun Center. Solomon Calhoun Center is where the St. Augustine Little League is at. They just built a really big football field over there. I think they just finished that like this past week or past 2 weeks. But they already have like an amazing Little League center there. They also have a community pool. All of this within West Augustine. Like, I walk there. They also have an outdoor workout facility. I walk there almost every day with my dogs. About a 20-minute walk for me to get there. I can do a little workout outside, and then I come back home. It's great. Like, I love that for this area, because it's something that just adds, like, okay, hey, I'm going to run down to the park place and pick up basketball. That's awesome. I love that. So if you live in the neighborhood, it's a big win for us. We got two more news stories, guys, and this is going to go down to Palm Coast. We're going to talk about Palm Coast, and I put out a video a couple weeks ago. It's doing pretty well about some of the secrets of living in Palm Coast. One of those secrets is that the city actually restricts you on what you can and can't do in Palm Coast by a lot of things, right? Can't put a boat in your yard, can't have a commercial vehicle in your driveway, you can't paint your house a certain color. Palm Coast Council again reverts on allowing all exterior house colors and will now keep 5 on ban list. So this is not a house in Palm Coast. I'm almost positive. I don't know where this house is, but it's not in Palm Coast. So it rescinded its 2-week-old decision to end all restriction on houses' exterior paint colors. So they just recently said, hey, all exterior paint colors are fine. It will instead allow almost all colors while preserving a ban on 5: neon, fuchsia, magenta, orange, and purple. So, quick recap. City of Palm Coast acts like a giant HOA. They say, hey, you got to get your grass cut a certain length. Your house can only be these certain colors. And it was only a handful of colors, pretty much like a pastel color throughout the entire area of Palm Coast. And there's an influx of new residents to Palm Coast that are like, hey, I moved here. I didn't know these rules. This sucks. And that's a fact. It does suck for many, many residents there. Does it add to like the uniformity of Palm Coast and keeping the neighborhood nice? 100%, but there's just some downsides to it. It's like, hey, I own this property and I can't keep a boat in my backyard. Like, come on, what are we talking about here? Or I own this property and the truck I use for work, I can't park in my driveway. Like, nonsensical stuff, right? Especially like, hey, go ahead, tell your AC technician he can't park in his driveway, right? See how quick he comes when your AC goes out. Like, it doesn't make good sense, right? Or a plumber, right? You have an issue like that, the guy can't even park in his driveway. Like, where do you want him to park? It's so silly. But either way, it does seem like changes on the horizon. This is just one of those things, which I think is a net positive for the residents of Palm Coast, because I was talking to a past client today, and he's like, listen, I love my house. I love everything about it. I hate my city. And it's because he got a fine for his boat being behind the fence. So either way, guys, I think that's a big win for Palm Coast. I think it's also a turning of the tides, so to speak, in terms of more of a normalcy. And there's going to be people that watch this video from Palm Coast probably like, no, you're wrong. Palm Coast had it right. But I personally believe, like, no. Like, let people park a boat behind. If you can't see it from the street, let them park a boat behind their house. If, the color of their house, you own it, right? Like, paint it whatever color you want. The fact that they even outlawed 5 is probably going to be an issue in the future here, too. But I don't think we need a master HOA. But at the end of the day, that's what you're paying taxes for. So some people love it, some people hate it. Either way, we got one more news story, guys. So appreciate you being here tonight. Here every Wednesday, 8 p.m. This one is really interesting, though. I actually want to do some content on this. And, oh my gosh, the ads with this thing. So, Unicorp National Developments tap for Ritz-Carlton Residences Hammock Dunes project. So this is one of the renderings of the Hammock Dunes projects, which will consist of 2 12-story towers. I think it's going to be 128 units. Let's see here. Where is that at? Already 2 of both penthouses in the Ritz-Carlton Hammock Dunes North Tower reserved for a total of $20 million in June, setting new records for the city of Palm Coast. The project will feature 2 12-story oceanfront towers, each with 64 units for a total of 128 residences. It will feature various luxury amenities, including a pool deck with cocktail bars and cabanas, sauna and steam rooms, fitness center, movement studio, in-house catering, a whiskey bar, and a cigar room and a curated wine bar. These are some renderings of what they think it's going to look like here. I'll expand it so it's a little easier to see. Oh my god, the ads, you can't even... This is so silly. Jack's Business Journal. You got to do better, guys. Unbelievable. Let me see if I can remove this ad here. Here we go. Okay, so you can't change pictures while... Okay, well, that's the inside of the unit there. Unbelievable. Beautiful. Love the styling of it. This style wood is coming back. I'm loving it. I'm such a fan. They definitely lightened up the water here. It's normally not that blue. More like a blue-green, I would say. Green-blue, more than likely. But I love the style of it. This is what the amenity center, like the pool, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, cocktail bar and cabanas. This is the concept, guys. And in reality, I can't think of anything like that in northeastern Florida. This is going to be like the first of its kind to have that type of residence here, which this is definitely an elevated type of residence for northeastern Florida, going right into Palm Coast. So let me know what you guys think about that. I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, it's going to be very, very expensive. So if anyone's looking to buy one of those, reach out to me. I'd love to be able to help you out, get your reservation in there. Sure, it's going to be, I think they said starting at $3 million. So those penthouses were at least 10. At least the deposits were for, figure 2 penthouses, 20 million. So maybe it's more than that. Who knows? But that's definitely going to go down in the history books of maybe seeing how that area of Palm Coast changes in the future. That area is already very like a luxury neighborhood. You see this dog back here? What are you doing? What are you doing, sweet girl? Huh? You want to be on the live stream? Is that it? It's the best. Well, either way, guys, that's going to be it for tonight. Any questions about buying, selling, investing in Hammock Dunes, St. Augustine, Jacksonville, Palm Coast, Putnam County, I'm here for you. Here every Wednesday, 8 p.m., going over the market stats, news you know about, things about buying, selling, or investing, and doing a Q&A. We had no questions tonight. We got 10 people here on the live at the end of the stream, but guys, you missed it. It starts at 8 o'clock. I'm sorry. I'll see you next week at 8 p.m. Have a good night. New video coming out on Saturday at 10 a.m. Be on the lookout for it. Subscribe, like, comment, do all those things for me. Have a good one.